Hello Rover 2000, haven't seen you for a few weeks. I've tried to turn the light on, but the battery has died. This is the old one out of my Mercedes C-Class. Runs the inverter, extension lead, light. That normally works quite well in here, but today obviously it's not. Luckily I brought some torches with me. I'll turn them on and then I will show you what we're going to be doing today. So hello, welcome to Furious Driving, and I'll apologise right away for the noise of the bin lorry outside. I've been waiting about 20 minutes for him to go away, but he seems to be doing the entire village from one parked location with the engine running, which is not really helpful from my point of view, but I've only got a limited time, so let's crack on and show you what I'm going to show you. You haven't seen this car on the channel for a really long time, even though it was the first car review I ever actually did where I sort of sat and talked about the car and the history of a model. It was this Rover 2000 from 1972. And more than that, this car was 50 years old on the 4th of February this year, so happy birthday to my Rover 2000. Well done, car, you've survived well. So yeah, good news, the car is all, well, alive and well, hopefully kicking. Now, we haven't seen it on the channel for a while because last 2020, which was lockdown year, I started changing the engine mounts because they had basically collapsed, so the engine was sitting at a funny angle in the engine bay. I did this without taking the engine out. I put a big block of wood under the engine sump to spread the load, jacked up the engine, took out the bolts. You have to take the single SU carburettor out, and you can pull these bolts out on this side. More or less comes straight out on that side, except it didn't. It actually took, let's grab a light. It actually took several weeks with cordless tools, drilling and grinding the top of the old bolt out. Oh, they've turned it off, that's nice. So yeah, that took ages and ages to do that. And finally, once I got it back in there, I found that the new, I think they're Mark 1 Golf actually, engine mounts that I'd got through a P6 supplier didn't actually fit. They said you needed to give a bit of a grind around the chassis and it'll just slip in, it's tight, but it'll go in. And I tried that and it wasn't having any of it. So go back to another video a little while ago, I did a bit of research. I figured hockey pucks would be the trick. And you know what? They were. Drilled holes in hockey pucks, went in exactly the right width, height, I mean, lovely density. It should be really, really good. But the problem I had after all that perfection was that as the engine came down off the jack, it kind of went a little bit skew-if sideways. It wouldn't sit with the engine's mounts holes over the car body mount holes, and so I couldn't put the bolts through. And I tried all manner of things. I put ropes around it to drag it. I tried jacking it and pulling it. Just was too much for one person. But the trouble is, this car is in a lock-up garage, literally moments from my front door. But it's just far enough to be out of sight, out of mind. With all the other cars going on, it's just been forgotten. Eventually, I got my next-door neighbour, who also kind of fixes cars in his drive, to come around with me, and we just wrenched the engine back into place. And now these bolts just drop in as they need to be. So today I'm going to put bolts on the bottom of them, reconnect the earth strap, and then hopefully we can fire this car up and call it 50th birthday Rover P6 engine start for the first time in about 2 years. So yeah, luckily I put a brand new battery in it the other day, and I always put in brand new batteries and stuff, and hopefully the petrol in this is old enough not to be the disgustingness that doesn't really work. So I'll quickly put a couple of bolts on these things and away we go. So the way that this mounting system, if you like, works, the bolt goes through this big bracket off the side of the engine, goes through the rubber hoo-ha dilly down here, which allows it to have a bit of flex, sits on a plinth down here, and then the nut on the end of the bolt has to go up from underneath, but because it's in like a big recessed area, you need to put it into a socket and lift it up from below. So I'll quickly do that, and then we're away. Bin man's back again. I wonder if they've broken down or something, because they've been there for absolutely ages and they're blocking 2 roads. Right, so let's get this in there. It's probably not seeing very much on camera right now. Dagnammit. Everything's kind of sprung loaded and in the wrong place, and I'm betting you I brought the wrong size sockets. By betting I mean guaranteeing. I did pick up this bag in order to take things over to the barn, but it's turning out to be quite useful to take things over to the garage around the corner. Did I bring a 3/8? No! Oh yes I did, but I reckon that's too small. No, it's a 1/2 inch. Right, so just off camera, I've just connected the other end of the earth strap to the engine mount. I need to go back with a socket, which I've not got the right size of, and tighten this one up. So the driver's side is all done. The passenger side, I do need to go and get a longer one of these in there, because that one is a slightly shorter one and the thread doesn't quite reach. In order to do that, I've got to come back with a 1/2 inch spanner and undo the 4 bolts to hold the SU carburetor on, and take it off, and I can put the longer bolt through. I actually bought a large handful of these things because, yeah, I didn't know how long of a bolt I was going to need to use, because obviously it's not fully threaded, so you have to do a certain amount of guesstimation. It was a bit of a Goldilocks moment. It turns out it's the mummy bear, the one that's in the middle. Now, I was having to do a fair bit of this on the V8, messing around with the SU carburetors on that car as well. Because one of the things I suspected might be wrong with that car was that the carbs were at issue. I couldn't really see why. Maybe they'd just gone fouled up after so long of lack of use. But yeah, this is basically exactly the same deal. 4 brass 1/2 inch nuts that hold the carburetor onto the side of the intake. Unfortunately, you can't get this bolt out. Well, you can get that bolt out because it's too short. The longer one, which I actually need, you can't put back in again because it's too long. Hang on. No, there you go. You can't do it. And I've just lost the washer on the floor. That's careless. And I've lost the spanner. Oh, where's everything gone? Always have to be a little bit careful around this exhaust manifold because it is ceramic coated, which is a bit of a treat on this car. It was running really warm, and this has made a big difference to keeping it running far more amicably. Oops, let's undo that spring. Can I get this off without disconnecting everything? Yeah, I reckon I can. Drop the new bolt in. Thank you. And back on again. Job done. Easy 30 seconds of faffage. And this top one and the back will only go on when the carb is slightly pulled forward. Right, job's a good one. Got the carburetor bolted back on again. The correct length of bolt pushed through there. Just need to get a socket that will contain that, wang it up from underneath, buzz those tight, and then we've got the engine bolted back in. This is a yay moment. Now this earth point is actually a little bit hard to get anything into. Reason being, it's not 100% perfectly lined up. It's like 99.999. I've been wiggling a screwdriver into there in the hope of making it get there, and then that 99.97 does it, but it's really quite awkward. And also this hockey puck appears to be exactly where you want this to be. So all of the socket extensions to hopefully get this to bite. It's not biting, is it? That doesn't bite, I don't get an earth. No, it's not bitten, even slightly. This dipstick is exactly in the wrong place. I need somewhere else to earth that to instead. That is not working at all. Right, that is not going to go through even slightly. It just isn't going to bite. What I need is a smaller bolt I can put through there and not unbolt it through with a clean thing. This car is so nice when it runs. Oh, here we go. Get a bit more choke than that. It's been a while after all. Come on, baby. Oh, nearly. Oh no. Well, I've given it a few cranks and it was turning over and hopefully it was going to start. This did have an issue where it would always just take a few cranks to go, but now I've just got a stuck solenoid. So I don't know if that is a dead battery or a low battery or an actual stuck solenoid. So I've brought the Mercedes over so I can try and jump it. And that was a nerve-wracking bit of parking, I can tell you. Right, we have connection. Let's see if this will now go brum brum. No, still won't. Nope, okay. Leave that running a minute. I'll go and hit that with a broom. Right, I have hit it with a broom. It's still got. I've got to take the flipping starter motor off. I've got to take the flipping starter motor off, haven't I? And good news, we do not need to be taking the starter motor out. I had a look at the wires down here and they are a little bit kinked and a little bit weird. And I kind of remember them being a little bit caddy once upon a time before. And I gave them a wiggle, this big bunch down here. And guess what? The starter started cranking again. Gave it 2 or 3 turns and I had to jump out, give it another wiggle again. So it looks like these wires down here are cracked and need to be, well, replaced for the last 30 centimetres or so of this bit of loom with some fairly sizable chunks of beige wire. So that is something to be done in the very near future because I'm not going to be starting the car too frequently if that is the future situation. And finally, with one more issue, and that is the float bowl of the fuel pump, the mechanical fuel pump, is bone dry. And that means there's no fuel in there, and no matter how long I crank it for, it's never going to start. And that means I'm going to have to manually draw fuel from the tank up to the engine. So let's move on with that, otherwise we're never going to start this car. Right, this fuel filter here is one I actually added into the system. I cut the hard line short many years ago. I did flexi line and put it in there to go up to the fuel pump just there. However, the fuel pipe that I had added was looking a bit tired, so I've just been and found some at the garage which looks a bit less tired, although the fuel filter itself does also look kind of tired. So I've brought my suctiony pumpy thing, which I was going to go and use to bring up the fuel from the tank. It's the same thing I use for doing the differential on the Volvo. Unfortunately, the pipe connections aren't quite compatible, so I'm going to have to do it the old-fashioned way and suck from the tank. So why is it? Oh, I can see bubbling fuel now at last. Ugh, that's so horrible. Okay, I'm going to call that enough and reconnect this down on here, which is the longest tail pipe, whatever we're going to call it, connection ever. This is a weirdly accessible but inaccessible engine bay. There's lots of space, but everything's kind of hard to get to. Well, for the less obviously often used things anyway. Right, so now, oh, I did see a splash of petrol then. I was hoping I got fuel through at last. I'm not doing that from the mouth again. There we go. Starting to see a bit of fuel seeping through, yes. Yeah, bit of petrol every now and then. Yeah, getting fuel into the bowl at last. So maybe this thing will actually crank over and fire, finally. Well, now there's actually fuel in the bowl, let's reconnect the battery and see what happens. Oh, do I need to crank more pumping in the pump itself? Yeah, I think I need to do more pumping in the pumping. Okay, something down here is smoking, I don't know what's hot. Earth cable's hot. Okay, interesting. Earth cable is very hot. Wonder if that's why it's not cranking properly. Right, as well as needing to find a new location for the earth strap, and maybe a better earth strap as well, all these starter wires, it turns out I've got blue connector plugs in them going inside the loom for some reason, and they all look like they're made of cheese, and they're breaking, so I can do like 2-3 cranks, and then it stops, and then I have to go and wiggle these wires, which are looking increasingly soft. So before I do any more on this car, the next thing I've got to do is to go and remake these wires. I'm going to take off these connector blocks, put new wires on, I guess. Yeah, cut them short, redo that. I don't have the tools over here for that today, so I'm going to call that a day for this video. So thank you for watching. Here we are with the Rover 2000, which almost starts after nearly 2 years sat here in the doldrums of its lock-up garage, really looking sorry for itself because it's one of my favourite cars and I really need to go and get this done. In order to do that, I need to go and get some connectors, some wire strippers, some knives, cutty things basically, and get this all sorted out. And then we can maybe take this car for a drive. Hopefully the weather will still be fine and sunny by the time that happens. In the meantime, thank you for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this little escapade with the Rover 2000. If you have, like and subscribe. If you haven't, keep it to yourself. And yeah, I'll see you again soon over here in the lock-up garage where this thing lives, and maybe having it start. Fingers crossed. Thanks for watching.